what is source?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are the we source?
If you wanted to speak to another person from a different culture and you didn't know their language, would you need to become their essence in order to understand what they were saying?
Or just take a Spanish class?
The wish description of the aliens would be other types of people.
Where would those originate from? That kind of a craft. Can it come from
Humans?
Another planet out in space?
Not out in space. Another plane of existence would be more accurate. Greetings.
Welcome to the Wee Talks.
Yes. Tell us about the Wee Talks, honey.
Well, if you're listening to this, you can also read and find the past shows at theweetalks.com.
Mm-hmm.
Theweetalks.com. And if you listen to this on Wednesday or Thursday, we have an after party where we get together and talk about what we talk about with you at a Zoom call. You'll find that at the link for that is at drivingtotherez.com, our other podcast.
Yes.
And let's begin, yeah?
Yes. The title of this podcast and the article is The Alien Equation and Earth Contained.
The alien equation and Earth contained.
Yes.
Right. So part of this podcast includes some answers to some questions. The last podcast and article that we asked for interesting questions that were not about yourself. Right?
Yes.
Because invariably the questions always are, tell me about me.
Mm-hmm.
Some form of me. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we are more interested in not topics about me.
Right.
I don't know if that'd be interesting or not, but I guess we could try it.
So we won't be answering any questions about Larry.
So Sue, we did have a listener/reader
who actually asked questions. I think it's the only person who asked the weird question.
She was also quite good at we were asking for the questions in English, and she doesn't even speak English. So the questions were written in another language and run through a translator.
Probably cat. They were probably written. It was written
in kitten.
She's a kitten.
It appears that way.
Yes.
Her avatar, her picture is a
kitten. So obviously that is a proof, right?
So a cat asked a question, and Cat had it translated in some kind of a translator and
into human. That
cat wants to know what is source?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Are the we source?
Right. And then we say we are not source.
The we are not source.
Yes. There are many sources of existence even among humans.
But how can there be more than one source? Source is the source of everything that is, isn't it?
No.
No? Shit. Shoot.
Yeah.
So there's more than one source?
There's more than one conceptualized source. And we're talking about conceptualizations of reality. So if you start digging into the source of everything, eventually you would come to an agreement of what that might be. But in our spectrum of reality, where we have a constructed sense of physicality, there isn't one source. No, there's multiple sources.
Okay, so I guess that requires us to define what is meant by source, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or what would you say a good definition of source? And the context would be in reference to a statement that you had made a decade more ago, that you're incarnated direct from source.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what is that?
My source.
Yeah.
Like from the singular point of view, I would say, if you're talking to Inelia, I would say that the singular point of view source was the we. So directly from the we, it didn't bypass anything. It didn't go through any planets or collectives or anything like that. It was direct from that.
Oh, I see. So a human being like us perhaps could be considered a source being the human collective, maybe?
Yeah, good. One level of experience would say your source is a human collective, correct?
All right. That kind of makes sense. So is there only one source per being? Like me, I have like one source. I have like multiple sources. Like sources have babies, or if your mom and your dad are from different sources and have a baby, do you have those two sources in you now?
Well, the mummies and daddies construct is for physicalities, physical bodies. And I think that we were talking about souls, maybe. But yeah, that's a good clarification. Are we talking about the physical body source, or are we talking about the soul source? And
yeah, there you go. That's
immediately gives
another
it
one. When you even when you ask that question, you realize, oh, I see. There's more than one source being.
Right.
Because your soul and your body are definitely not from
the
same source.
Yeah.
Or same genealogy or all of those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even the simple question, direct from source needs detail. All right, great.
And
every time you think you've got it, then it just gets a little bit more fractal.
Sue the cat asked whether we were a source. And they're the source of me, Inelia, but they're not the source of Sue or Larry. Yeah. Yes, indeed. She also asked us about understanding tree language. And she wondered if to understand tree language, she had to become the essence of tree.
Right. That's an interesting question because I've heard it said, and it may be the interpretation, but basically, if you want to talk to a tree, you'll go touch it and merge with the tree, or become one with the tree. Or I could think that you would be thinking in order to communicate with the tree, you got to become a tree.
Mm.
But clearly, there's a flaw in that logic, right?
Yes.
So
my example is if you wanted to speak to another person from a different culture and you didn't know their language, would you need to become their essence in order to understand what they were saying?
Or just take a Spanish class or Italian class or
an English class, whatever. Right?
I would say that there's you get a leg up if you become the essence of the thing, because if you go move to let's say you move to Mexico and a village that has no English, in order to get along you have to what?
I don't think you can become the essence of a different being.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
No. So the same with trees.
I mean, you can connect with the essence of the Mexican collective, but it's going to make you speak Spanish better, right?
No.
But you could you could use telepathy better by connecting with the.
You connect, but you don't become it. Yeah. That's the whole point.
Okay.
You can connect with essences. You can connect with frequencies and beings, right?
But you becoming the essence of it.
Essence of them, you cannot.
So there's the basic misunderstanding in that language of becoming the essence of it in order to communicate. Yes. So no, you don't do that.
No.
What happens if you well, you said you can't become the essence of something you're
else.
Not.
Exactly. You cannot do it.
Okay. We skipped past source thing for a minute. I had another question.
About source? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the other question about source has to do with changing source. Mm-hmm. Like becoming a light source being if you're a dark source being. Like we have light, dark reality, we have light source, we have dark source beings in our language. I don't know what other sources besides those two that are, but those are the two predominant ones that we were aware of.
You can jump over to a different source for sure. And then you'd have to look at what is it that you're talking about with regards to source. And I would say it's probably your link at a soul level to a certain pool of energy that animates you.
Yeah.
Right? And definitely you can change it because that's not actually your origin. It's just the place maybe or the experience that you're having in the physical universe.
It's like a step down in awareness point from something to a definable. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
And it's like one of the stages of separation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you can choose different ones. Yeah, that
you can.
Does that very common?
What, that
People change their source?
It's not very common. I've only seen it happen once, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty uncommon, actually.
Yeah.
So you're pretty well locked into that unless something extraordinary is like happening.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. All right. What else did the cat want to know?
So the cat also asked about whether to speak directly with animals, the person would need to engage in conversation with the we. And that is a no.
I don't really understand that.
Yeah, it's like, do you need a third party here to be able to communicate with animals? And third parties, you don't need third parties. You can completely have a direct communication with animals without involving anybody else or any other collective by using experiential telepathy, which is also the methodology. It's in a class. You can study that class and learn how to communicate with animals directly. And no, you do not need a third party.
So you have a class called Experiential Telepathy class.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you find that?
Ineliabenz.com.
All right, cool. So far we're talking to trees and animals, right?
Right.
Clearly, if you're a cat, you can talk to other cats.
Of course, yeah.
I guess she means other than
dogs.
Cats talking to dogs doesn't seem like. Maybe she wants to talk to mice into like laying down and staying still.
Or maybe she wants to talk to humans so that they can give her treats.
When you think about communicating with a animal or communicating with a tree, is the experience of communicating with them different, or is it somewhat the same? In other words, I mean, cats are going to be thinking about different things than trees, probably.
The content of that communication, the content will be different because what bothers or what a tree is interested in is very different to what a cat is interested in. So the communication content will be different, but the method of communication is identical. It works for both cases.
So, what kind of a thing might a cat be interested in that a person's also interested in that they could talk about?
A warm fire, maybe.
Probably, if it's from a cat, food.
Food, yeah. Humans like
Cats seem to be driven by food quite a lot. And something about being petted. They're pretty insistent about that.
Yeah. Our cat this morning, about 8 o'clock in the morning, was meowing on your desk, meowing at you while you slept on your bed. Putting all these noises. And I looked at him like, what the hell's going on? And he looked at me like really cute. And oh, he's hungry.
It's good.
Eventually he got me out of bed. He actually climbed on top of me and said, I'm doing the posy. So I got up and he'd run downstairs into his food corner. Yeah.
What? Oh, I mean, that's pretty easy with cat. I mean, it's like baby. There's 3 things with baby and there's 2 things with cat, right? Mm-hmm. Feed me or feed me. The cat. Feed me, change me, and give me a hug if you're a baby. But I guess cats have given me a hug too.
Yeah, cats have given me a hug. At least our cats do. They love to be petted.
So what about a tree? What possibly interests a tree that would also interest a human? What could they... I mean...
some trees like to be interesting to humans so that they can propagate. I know a lot of fruit trees have done that, and they will communicate to the human that they're going to give you juicy fruit.
Oh, that
delicious fruit.
Right?
Yeah.
Then they don't restrict their communication to humans. I've seen them communicate with birds.
Yes.
Birds come in and take all cherries.
Yeah, all our fruit. They take all the fruit.
I do remember you said one time, I think you asked the birds to leave you some.
Yes.
Tell me that story.
So, I had a couple of cherry trees in my yard in Sacramento, and it was the only organic, chemical yard in the entire state. So all the neighbors' trees and fruit trees were full of fruit, and mine were empty of fruit because the yard would be always full of birds who would come in and eat all the fruit, all of it. And like those trees give a lot of fruit. And one year I said, please, can you just leave me some cherries? I mean, I'd like to at least taste them, because they would take them even before they're fully ripe, you know? So one year I noticed that there was 2 cherries on the tree, and the birds left it alone. So, well, thanks. That's not what I meant. You know, I imagined like half it.
A bunch anyway.
Yeah, at least a basket full. No, those 2 cherries in there.
Well, you've seen how birds are. Our chickens are fairly,
Brutal
with their food.
So they left 2 is actually for them. It's very, what's it called?
Generous.
Generous, yes.
That's very generous, because I literally have never seen the chicken leave one speck of anything for anybody.
No, they don't.
Yeah, so that's pretty extreme. It a little bit reminds me of the Sasquatch stories, where people living in the forest having encounters with the Sasquatch and the tribes too, where the Sasquatch would take all the food. They would communicate that, that's our winter food. You got to leave us some.
Yeah, so they would.
You're making a bargain, and they don't take it all.
Right.
So I suppose probably we're communicating with all of the things around us, and all of the things around us are communicating with us. We just are having our awareness pinched down to a level where we pretend we don't hear it.
Yeah.
Or to have an experience where we're separate from trees.
Yeah.
Or we're separate from cats and dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, pinching of awareness.
Pinching our awarenesses.
That's a good word, pinching of awareness. I like it.
Romeo is impinging on my awareness.
Yes, he is.
He wants to come to work.
He wants to communicate to humans.
He's quite gentle about it. It's a little bit of a little scratch,
and then a bit harder
scratch
on the door.
He is a
little bit harder.
He's patient, but also persistent.
Yeah.
He will scratch like that gently and softly for an hour.
Yes.
If you don't respond. All right. Do you have any other questions?
Let me check. She had the language, animals. Oh yes, then she wanted to know how to become one with everything without leaving your physical body. And we said the answer is you already are one with everything. Your awareness and perception, however, is limited by choice to be a singular person. Define experience beyond your singularity, expand your viewpoint.
Right.
So
we are very direct and very short of words, right? Can you, having integrated, explain that a little bit? It's like you're already that, but you've chosen to narrow
your awareness.
Your awareness. Again, that's the same thing as
and I guess you can step out of your body in an OB, out of the body experience, and then you would be able to expand your awareness. Well, still connected with your body, but in order to enter your body, you will lose most of it because your body cannot hold all that information or that data.
And again,
at experiential level, you can use the Ascension 101 course that has a Journey to Oneness exercise, and you can actually do this within your body. You'll have a concept of it,
a taste and a experience of,
in a way that you can understand what it is. But you never leave oneness. Otherwise, there will be two-ness, right? Or three-ness. Or quadruple.
Remember the Terence McKenna's brother's story? That's one of the things. One of the things about oneness experiences, again, defining what you mean by that. Oneness. In the case of the McKennas, it was an experience of being like, your end of you doesn't end at your skin, it ends at the edge of the universe somewhere where you can't perceive the end of you.
Right.
You're all that you can describe, I guess. So they had gone to Peru, I think it was, as ethnobotanists in their 20s, also known as looking for drugs, psilocybins, mushrooms. Oh, they were actually looking for a hallucinogen that one of the tribes down there mixes with ash and then eats it, because the drugs they were using were getting them high but weren't staying long. So like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it was over, and they wanted like days or hours so they could really get into the meat of the psychedelic experience,
Right.
explore that world without having to come out of it as soon as they realize they're in it. So as it turned out, they couldn't find that ash drug thing, but they did find the cow poops in the jungle were covered with this species of magic mushrooms that they knew of, were aware of, but they were big ones. So they started eating mushrooms, like mushrooms on your pizza, mushrooms in your, they're eating them like crazy. And they were so blasted out of their minds that at one point, after some weeks of doing this like nonstop, their awareness expanded to what we would describe as oneness, where their edge of their body didn't stop, and it got stuck there. They didn't have a singularity. They couldn't function. They couldn't like close, eat, drink, poop, whatever. They could nothing.
Yeah. And that can happen even at a tiny little level of expansion of awareness, little in the perspective of we, for a person, right? Even expanding, for the person would seem like they expanded their awareness to unbeknown limits, all the way out. But it's actually a very small expansion because you're still in the body. You can still conceptualize it, which means it's already limited by many levels of degrees. But it's a couple of things. One of them is that it can cause a lot of difficulty functioning in your physical body, like walking, talking, drinking, eating food. All these things can become difficult. But also your expansion of awareness doesn't necessarily mean that you're high frequency, and you can leave yourself wide open for possession by low frequency entities, which we call demons. So you have to be very wary of that. That's one of the things that I wouldn't go out to Peru and eat mushrooms
for a month until you're completely blasted out of your mind.
Because it's not necessarily going to be safe.
For them, for him, right. They had to, their friends were like, after a week or so, they got worried about him because, it's like, are they ever going to get better? So they had to like fly them to a hospital in a big town, and you couldn't even get an airplane but once a month kind of a thing. It's like emergency. And then they did, Terrence's brother said he did, after 2 weeks or 3, start shrinking back down to him again, so he could function. As soon as he is like, I'm done with that, I'm out of here. He took off and went to go be a scientist instead of a psychonaut, I guess. Well, his brother, he said, never actually came all the way back. So his theories and things were not necessarily true in the physical sense, but maybe in the not physical sense they might be accurate. So his theories weren't functioning where they would be predictive or constructive. They were just like delusional, which
you would indicate a little bit of a hijack there,
right? So your whole entire experience of oneness, the oneness does have practical use, right? I mean,
it does.
If you were to do the Ascension 101 course,
right, a control expansion. I don't think that drug thing was an expansion to oneness, quite honestly. I think it was just an expansion of awareness and perceptions, but I don't think it was a oneness experience.
Yeah, I guess I don't know how to define what theirs was or yours or ours or their definition, but it definitely was a psychic break from reality, and it was persistent.
Right.
And I have read
people,
some oneness experiences. They come back just fine with they have a bigger sense of
reality,
what reality is, the game that they're playing, and their agreement in it, and their like not an unconscious victim of the circumstance. They're the
Right.
conscious understander of the game that they're role that they're playing and enjoying
By choice.
by choice. So it's
Yeah.
like remove the victim and enjoy the
Yes.
experience type. So it has like value in that sense.
Yes. Yeah, that's different. Yeah. I've
That's
seen those as well.
that's
Yeah.
much different than the other. They, they were describing the plants have their own consciousness. The mushrooms were
Yes.
actually telling them what they needed to do in order
Yeah,
to save humanity.
in shamanic lineages, one of the warnings is don't become the plant's slave. The plant is your servant, don't become the servant for the plant.
Yeah,
It's a big warning, and it's like, don't mess about, don't take too much, because you will become the plant's servant,
And that's exactly what they were. They did. That's what they
yeah. And they will come in
ended up being.
from a sense of the person's own vulnerabilities, right? The person's own vulnerabilities are quite interesting. A light worker is quite predictable on the planet. This vulnerabilities,
Yes.
the light worker.
What will they respond to?
Yes. Well, how can they be controlled and how can they be triggered? Right. We're going to be doing a trigger class soon, and it's like it's very easy to trigger a light worker. Tell them that you're causing the destruction of the earth. Accuse them of doing something they haven't done. That's another one. Tell them they're the only one who can help and do or deliver a message.
They're responsible for that. If they don't do it, then everyone suffers.
Yeah, yeah.
So you better do it.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So there's a lot of things that, and those to me smell like those, So Oneness experiences as a person, just you can. The Ascension 101 course has a very safe, and if you follow the exercise of the Oneness exercise, you will achieve that experience, that perception experience of oneness within your physical body.
There you go. So the cat knows.
Mm-hmm.
Now the cat can experience oneness. Just go to Ascension 101. Oh, no, where do you get it?
IneliaBenz.com.
Inelia.com.
IneliaBenz.com.
Look for Ascension
101 course, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
So the other part of this, the main part of this article wasn't these questions. It was about aliens.
Yeah. Aliens and the earth contained.
And the earth contained.
Yes.
So, as usual, we have terms here that we bandy about: aliens, earth, humans,
UFOs,
UAPs. So all of these need a definition in the sense of mind definition. Like, what's a UFO or an alien?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, alien is a being from another planet. That's what our definition is. And a UFO is this airplane that they fly in, or a saucer, or a craft of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you add in all the other things, UAPs and all the other things, right? They're just other words to say pretty much the same thing. It's just craft that the aliens fly in,
mm-hmm.
or float in, or travel in, or whatever. And the place that they're traveling from is a different planet. And the place they're traveling to is Earth, the little marble in space.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much all of the things that I just said aren't actually accurate or correct.
Correct.
So we have a expanded ability. Well, they can't see what's actually there, whereas what we see is a construct of our senses and our programming.
Mm-hmm.
So how about Louise's description of, let's say, aliens?
Louise's description of the aliens would be other types of people.
Other people.
Yes. Other types of people.
Do they come from other planets?
Some of them come from other planets.
Do they come from, where else could they come from?
Other parts of Earth.
Other parts of Earth. So Earth, as I conceive of it, is that marble in space, going around the sun. Yeah. And there's space out here and then Earth there.
Right. That would be an incorrect assumption of what Earth is.
So what is Earth? What is the marble?
Plane of experience.
Plane of experience.
Yes.
So I've heard that...
Planet, see?
Plane planet. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that the Earth that we experience regularly is a container where the light dark experience of reality is played out. Something like those words.
Yes.
Is that right?
It's a containment, not a prison.
Right. A prison is a place where you can never escape, right?
And you're there again, usually against
Usually
your will.
against your will. And a containment is a place where you can enjoy an experience without being impacted by incompatible experiences.
Exactly.
So a containment, and a containment could be considered what we consider the Earth. We drive and keep going that way. Pretty soon, by the understanding that I have, if I go that way long enough, I'll end up here.
Ah, okay. So
if I keep going that way, I'll end up here, going all the way around and coming to here. And if I take a sailboat and go that way, and then turn left, and then go down, and go right, and go back up, I'll come back to the same place too.
Mm-hmm.
And if I take a sailboat and go like that, go around there, and around there, and around there, and around there, I come back to the same place too.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, if I go to Antarctica, then I can't go there because it's against the law.
Right.
You're not allowed to fly over certain places.
Right.
And if I look at a map on the wall at the UN, it shows there's a little gap in there at Antarctica where it goes into a bigger Earth.
Yes.
So what's going on?
The ways in which we've been taught the shape of Earth is wrong.
Is there a way to say what the shape is?
Well, there's some hints like a plane of existence, a planet.
A plane of existence, right.
Flat Earth, that is also incorrect. But it's a plane of existence.
So using a computer analogy, when you do a World of Warcraft, or you do a racing game or an airplane flying game, the reality that you exist and see doesn't actually a globe or a flat.
Right.
It's a construct, right?
Right. Yeah. That's more accurate than I would say than a marble flying around.
The construct can simulate a marble.
A vacuum.
Clearly, the construct can simulate
millions of miles an hour.
Clearly, the construct can simulate a marble in space going a million miles an hour. It clearly can.
In a computer?
Or in looking out the door.
Yeah, there's evidence that you can see. The evidence that you can see as you look out your window. Does it reflect a marble going through a vacuum in space at millions of miles an hour? Does that prove to you that it's happening?
The problem I have with some of these things...
Can things move through vacuums?
The problems I have with some of these things is that if we have a atmosphere and a vacuum, then the atmosphere goes to the vacuum, especially if it's a vast vacuum that doesn't have an end. Literally everything here would be there so fast your eyes blink.
Right.
Like there's no way for it to stick on here.
Exactly.
And gravity doesn't hold the air down.
Nobody knows what gravity is anyways.
Well,
there's theories, but there's no actual proof of gravity being anything that we can explain.
But that fell down.
Is that gravity?
Yeah, that's what it is.
No, it isn't actually.
That's what Edison said, or whatever that guy's name is. Newton.
Could be magnetism.
It very well could be. So I don't think magnets hold air in on a vacuum.
4 children.
Yes.
When one of your children asked you to pick him up, and you picked him up, were they light or heavy?
When they wanted to be picked up, they were light. When they didn't want to be picked up, forget about it. They got double the weight.
Right. And how is that possible? How do you explain that with gravity?
Toddlers are gravity anomalies.
Right. Now, have you heard of dead weight?
I've heard that when a body dies, when it's dead, it's really hard to pick them up, but when they're alive, they're not so hard.
Right. So that would be 2 little bits of information that will invalidate your concept of gravitational pulls.
Okay. So clearly there's more to space than we're led to believe.
Mhm.
And I don't know how they pull the wool over. Because look, they shoot a rocket up. And when you look at it, rocket going up,
Mm-hmm.
you know what happens?
Curves.
It just goes across the sky. It don't actually go straight.
Up.
It goes like, it's like that.
Yeah.
And when it breaks up, it goes, psh.
Yeah.
And it's just flat. It doesn't actually be going up. It's just going out. So we got to go faster than Earth. So it goes out all by, that.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense either. So.
It doesn't. No.
But they do it and say that it worked.
Yeah, they say that it worked, and they simulate with the computer graphics what it was supposed to have done. A little bit like the...
Somehow, yeah. And somehow or they have the law, you can't go down across the Antarctica.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So some people must know.
Must know what?
That there's more to the Earth.
Oh, there's plenty of people who know.
Okay.
But it's all about our over others game, and this is like that paradigm, so it's going to get hushed, right?
Okay, so last night I watched a show, Back to the Aliens and the Earth and the UAPs and all the other, where Mork's spaceship showed up.
Mork and Mindy?
Mork's spaceship is an egg, right?
Yes.
And a whistleblower who was flying helicopters for the Army of Delta Force. He's not like a pushover. Delta's guys are...
Serious.
There's not very many Deltas,
No.
and they're some serious shit.
Yes.
And he's a flying helicopter Delta guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he picked up a giant egg, Mork's spaceship,
yes,
and packed it around, and had an emotional connection, an emotional bliss, an emotional overwhelm. His emotional body got...
No. That was a different ship. He got the bliss. That was the Octagon.
Oh, the Octagon?
Oh, no, it was
Eight
gon.
Something with eight sides.
8 gon, yeah.
Either way, he had a transformative experience
with one of those crafts that picked up.
And he had video of him picking up a Mork's. If you don't know who Mork and Mindy is, just Google it.
Yeah, if you don't know.
It was a show in the 1980s, I think, or 80s.
I don't know, 70s maybe? God knows.
Is it Alien?
80s, 70s.
An alien fella.
Like that.
Who was...
arrived in an egg.
He arrived in an egg.
To study humans.
Yes. Did a bunch of silly stuff like sit in the Jeep upside down and eat the flowers and smell them. We didn't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, some of these crafts are... It doesn't make sense that you have a 20-foot big egg flying around. Where would an egg craft come from?
Yes.
So one of the things that we were defining for us is that Earth is not just the concept that we have of it, this sphere in space, that it's a plane of experience.
Right.
And in this plane, it's contained for a light-dark experience. And outside of that containment is only light, or...
Yeah, it's just a light.
Just a light experience. And imagine some other plane has only a dark experience.
Yes.
But we're contained from the larger Earth that's in a light experience.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So the egg craft, for instance, or the 8-gon craft, for instance, could be from another planet, or could be from the larger Earth.
Yes.
Or even in some cases can be from this Earth, where they caught one or made one or just made their own, or who knows what. So all the varieties of those things exist. When it comes to a craft that has the 5 principles of a UAP, what were those? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember them. I said 5 or 10.
5 things. They're
like the...
They're hypersonic, and they are interdimensional, they're hard to observe, and they perform outside the limits of gravity.
Right.
Anti-gravity. They have instant accelerations, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Those crafts, nobody's going to mistake one of those for a drone, right?
Right.
Where would those originate from? That kind of a craft. Can it come from another planet out in space?
not outer space, another plane of existence would be more accurate. It can come from a different plane of existence, yes.
Would we think of another plane of existence as a different dimension?
Maybe, not necessarily.
Would we think of another plane of existence? Like, how can we in a regular time, on a regular basis?
Just think of it a different planet. It'll be less complicated.
Okay. And we know from getting from this planet to another planet requires us to go through places that we can't exist as a human body.
Right.
Because of whatever is there is deadly for a human body.
Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, it's like the things that we think we know and the things that we're told. We just play along. Okay. Yep.
I'm called a different planet.
Play along.
So there's some of these people.
These aliens who are just other people.
Who come from different planets.
Yes. To visit the Earth. The little Earth.
Earth planet.
The little Earth part that would.
And then there's some of these objects are created by humans.
Okay. Humans that are stuck in this containment?
Yes, contained by the containment.
Those humans.
Continents, yeah.
The ones that make Chevrolets and
yes.
747s can also make these craft.
Yes. And there's some others that are crafts from people who are outside of the containment.
They're just regular people, but they're not in our light-dark reality container.
They're human.
Okay. They fly over top of us, around us?
They've been doing that all the time, yeah. That's been happening always, but people just didn't see them. Most people don't look up.
Well, then most people don't look at them, and then we do. We do camera in the night. You can see a bunch of things flying around. It's all white dots anyways. I mean, how are you supposed to tell one white dot from another white dot? Anyway.
You can't. You can call them?
Speaking of calling them, yeah. So that was part of the show last night. They had a psionic pilots who would take over control of Mork's pig.
Well, I think that is a wrong assumption. That's not actually what was happening.
Okay.
And they kind of hinted at what was actually happening, but I think you missed the point.
That's probable. So what was the point?
You cannot control these things.
You can't take control from...
No.
And you can't, drive them closer.
But you can call them? Yes, you can request. Come over here. They come. Move to the left. Move to my right. Go up. Accelerate. You can request. But they may or may not do it. It's up to them whether they want to play or not. And it's part of that communication. We understand you. Let's play. But more often than not, they lose interest and they go and do their own thing. Yeah,
I can imagine it's like this flight isn't necessarily okay, we're going to go up to 80 million feet and we're going to hang out there until somebody says, hey, come look at me. I mean, they're probably doing shit.
Yeah.
We're on our way to Fiji. We're going to go sit on the beach, or their version of Fiji, whatever the heck it is. Yeah. And on the way, it's like, oh, look, somebody's down there dinging us. They're pinging us over there. Hey, let's go take a look.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, I'm so impressed. He told us to go left. Okay, watch. We go left. Okay, go right. Go left. Go down. Closer. He loves that. Okay, so that would be a more accurate estimation. But well, how the heck did they get one at the bottom of the helicopter on a string?
Well, if you have individuals who will bring them in, and then you have some sort of technology that can disable the ship, wouldn't you do that? You personally wouldn't, but certain...
I imagine there are certain less light beings who would find that
right. So
very profitable.
Yeah. Follow the money. There'll be technology in there that they can... It's like pirates, Grab the ship, grab the goodies, use the ship, or at least try to reverse engineer the technology that you find in there. Make a lot of profit.
Yeah, if that's your motivation, which, I mean, all of us have some of that for a part of our motivation, right? We like to have stuff to eat. and cars to drive and airplanes. I mean, some of us don't even consider the thought that I really should get an airplane, jet engines that goes 900 miles an hour to fly over to. I mean, that's not even on our palette of possibilities that we want to go do. But
there's plenty
for some people, that's like, well, everybody has a jet, and I don't have a faster one. It's like, I need a faster jet.
Yeah.
Like Jerry has a jet. His jet's pretty big. I think I want a jet as big as an airliner. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I need.
Yeah, that's what I need.
So they have that as a motivation to, how am I going to get that? I go grab that UFO. And
there's also victim, aggressor, power over others equations, whoever has the biggest guns is going to rule the world type thing.
Well, you can make a lot more money and get a lot bigger jet if you control a lot bigger territory. And everyone knows you need an army to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you have an army, you got to feed them.
Yeah.
And they have to listen to you.
Yes.
Well,
you have an army, you have to feed them. Very Romanesque of you, honey.
You do. And they have to make sure that they listen to you. So there's a lot of things that you need to put in place to make that happen.
Yes, a lot of things.
I guess it's a little bit off the talk, but not too terrible, because it's like a normal person who might be listening to this, who's interested in expanding their awareness, understanding the true nature of the universe, the planet they live on, and things like that. They're oftentimes not motivated by these power
over other stuff or big planes.
Things they don't let's say, oh, I don't want to get on a big plane, and they're not like, I don't want to. I wouldn't. They're not opposed to it, but it's not like a motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas some of the people who are doing some of these things with some of these objects, that is their motivation. Yeah. Things like that we don't even conceive of as a motivation. So when we're looking at and detangling this UFO, UAP, alien, I guess, other people, alien thing, ships, and understanding what the Earth is like, when we're exposed to narratives on the news, narratives on YouTube, narratives on what we read, we can understand the limited nature of what they're explaining and understand the language they're using.
Exactly.
Fits with
that particular kind of dynamic and construct and culture. Yeah.
So we don't necessarily get swayed by it. We don't get sucked into it, although we might enjoy watching that egg fly underneath a helicopter. That's pretty cool.
But then you'll start listening to the fear narrative, right? And then they put two things together that don't belong together.
Yeah, there was
some people get sick when they've been working with these UAPs, but actually they had nothing to do with the UAPs.
Right. Okay.
Anything else for the we?
Let's see. Maybe the conclusion part, that how the we were going to change their focus of question and answer from themselves to other things. What's that about?
Yeah, so obviously the we don't find themselves interesting. That's a given.
Right. There's the clear obstacle in having conversation with we, because you don't actually have conversation. It's kind of like
a monologue.
You have a talk for 40 minutes and then you get a one-word answer out of them. Which is this is a conversation. They're not very great conversationalists.
No.
And you always want to know about yourself, and they won't give you a satisfying answer.
Okay, ask me something that you want to know about yourself, honey. We are prepared and ready to answer your question.
What do these numbers mean on my shirt?
You already explained what those numbers mean on your shirt.
Not to anybody over here.
To the listeners, or the people who can watch, the numbers are 1-843-6572.
Right.
Which are something to do with an engine.
At Safeway, the lady, or Costco, the lady thought it was my prison numbers.
Be quiet. We're to listen to we talk.
Okay, talk we.
We are understanding that these numbers correspond to a part of an engine of a particular make of vehicle, a Chevy, I believe, that indicate the number at which the pistons activate. So the first piston, then the eighth piston, then the fourth piston.
You got it.
Then the third piston, then the sixth piston, then the fifth piston, then the seventh piston, then the second piston. And then at that order, then the engine won't shake to death because it balances out the kinetic energy released by the pistons in an order that will keep the engine cohesive.
See that we can talk more than one word. Nice job. Okay. I feel complete now.
Excellent.
Thank you for the full description.
And the wing psychopath.
Yeah.
Just a little more convincing. No.
No.